Tropical storm Alberto made landfall in northeastern Mexico earlier today, making it the first landfalling tropical cyclone of the 2024 hurricane season, and two more disturbances are out there. So, in this tropical weather update, we'll be looking at those systems to see when we might get the next named storm. But first, if you're new here, please be sure to hit the subscribe button for more tropical weather updates. Here's kind of a look at the Atlantic satellite imagery. Here's Alberto. Really not much left with that. And then we have two other disturbances. This is Invest 92L, and this is another disturbance that's supposed to go into the Bay of Campeche, and it could actually hit the same areas that Alberto just hit. And so yeah, on the NHC, here's Alberto. Really, the remnants of Alberto, it's basically dissipated over the mountains in northern Mexico. And then here's disturbance 2. This is disturbance 1. This is Invest 92. That basically they actually flew a reconnaissance plane into it, and they didn't find anything with it really. And so it's not a tropical storm. It might try to become a tropical depression maybe, but really, it probably not, but it will kind of reach the coast of northern Florida near Jacksonville. And then this is the one that could do something. This is probably more likely to become another tropical system over the Bay of Campeche. And this is actually the next storm that I think will probably become Beryl if this one doesn't. So this is, Alberto. Basically, there's still a slight chance of flooding over southwestern Texas. Maybe a couple more inches of rain in northeastern Mexico. But other than that, it's pretty much gone. But it did produce some strong winds. You had gusts to like 40, 50 miles an hour across southern Texas over the past, 24 hours or so. And then the 72-hour precipitation, you actually had anywhere from 4, 5 to 6 inches, maybe even closer to 14, 15 inches in northeastern Mexico. So there was a lot of rain from that system, even flooding, all that stuff. Now this is the Invest. And yeah, it doesn't look like much on the satellite imagery, and the reconnaissance plane, they didn't really find any. It wasn't that organized. The center isn't well defined enough for it to be a real tropical depression or anything. Because a couple days ago, really the models were showing that it probably wasn't going to do anything, and then yesterday some of the models were really trying to show that it could even potentially become a tropical storm. But then now the models are actually trending back down, that this is not going to do anything. And it's going to reach the kind of northeastern Florida, maybe near Jacksonville or something like that. But, that'll happen kind of tomorrow afternoon. And then it kind of goes into the southeastern U.S., but it really isn't going to do much of anything other than, bringing some normal rain and stuff like that. Because basically, it really is just going to stay as a really weak system. If anything, it's going to weaken down over time, because it's in an unfavorable environment with a lot of shear and everything like that. And this is really, no model really shows this becoming a tropical storm at all. So there's, I guess, a very, very, very slight chance that it could, but it probably won't. And then, yeah, really no intensification with that system. And then even the NAM model really doesn't show it. It shows just rain showers and thunderstorms across northern Florida, eastern Georgia, and the Carolinas, but nothing really exciting as a tropical storm. And then the GFS, this is, it kind of shows that storm really disappears across Florida, doesn't even make it inland hardly at all. And then you have this storm, this disturbance kind of over the Bay of Campeche. It seems like it's going to go in the same place that Alberto went, pretty much, but it doesn't even look like it'll develop into much of anything significant. And then what's interesting is that the GFS doesn't even show really much of anything forming after that, like, for a while. So it looks like if we have these two disturbances, and then things will actually tone down, and we might not even see any tropical activity for a while after this. And, it kind of shows the shear tones down over that disturbance in the Bay of Campeche, but then what happens is that, yeah, the shear, it really, there isn't that much shear, but there's not much activity out there for any real, a lot of tropical storms. The GFS is actually showing the shear, it goes down for the next few days. You might have, so with that disturbance, you do have a window of opportunity for that to become a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm, but then the GFS is showing the shear increasing once we get into July. And then this is, the Euro kind of shows the same thing with, these two disturbances and then nothing after that. So that's interesting. Now, the GEFS kind of shows something a bit different. You have, really not much happening with this Invest 92, and then you have this disturbance down here in Central America could become something weak, and then after that, you do have another system that the GEFS is trying to show possibly intensifies in the Gulf of Mexico. Now that'll be interesting to see if anything happens with that potential third disturbance that they're thinking is going to form after the one that's listed already. And we'll see what happens. But then it also shows some potential weak activity trying to form in the sort of the main development region, from some of those tropical waves. See if that can happen. But yeah, that's going all the way to July 4th. And then the Euro ensemble kind of shows the same thing. It really nothing with the Invest 92. Then this disturbance could form, and then it does also show another. This is in 10 days, by June 30th. It actually does try to show a storm kind of forming near Central America and possibly going north into the Gulf. And then also weak activity in the main development region. So, we'll see, but then it does kind of look like it, there could be some slight activity, but it kind of looks like things will actually tone down after these two disturbances and possibly a third one. Really not much else out there for a while, because things are actually going to be unfavorable at some point, because you have, really, it looks favorable right now, June 20th, June 25th, even June 30th, but then you have some of the unfavorable conditions kind of moving towards Central America, but then it does shift to over the main development region, so you could have some activity there by, July 5th, even July 10th. This thing is showing possibly conditions stay sort of favorable, even in the eastern part of the main development region through mid-July, but then you do have some really unfavorable conditions over the tropical Atlantic, in the western Atlantic, in that whole area, but then you might start getting some activity over the main development region, potentially. And then actually it starts looking really favorable over the eastern Pacific by basically by mid-July. You might start getting something. There hasn't been a single storm in the eastern Pacific. Not even, there's not even any disturbances there. There's been a couple that haven't done anything. But, you have, even going into late July, you might start getting more favorable conditions over the Western Atlantic again. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But that's kind of what, it's been showing this for a while, that it's going to be there's this favorable time frame, and then it goes unfavorable, and then maybe favorable again, but not for a while, because it kind of even was showing this on the CFS model, favorable for this week, June 20th to June 27th, but then look what happens, June 27th to July 4th, unfavorable, and then that continues all the way. This is showing it for a while, and this has been pretty consistent on the CFS, kind of showing the same thing. Unfavorable even in July, but then you see maybe favorable over the eastern Pacific, and then still unfavorable. This is showing all the way into August 1st. Unfavorable even over Africa, so maybe not even tropical wave activity. Just so we have, kind of some activity now, but then it might be unfavorable for a long time. So the tropics could actually, quiet down for a while. And you have, all this Caribbean activity, and then you have, it looks like June 27th to July 4th, you try to have some weak tropical wave activity, maybe something over the Caribbean, but not really. And then going through, it looks like if anything's going to happen, which it doesn't look that intense, but if anything is going to happen, it's going to be probably, looks like the main development region might try to produce something sometime in July, but then going towards later July, this is what looks like you might start getting something if you have all these tropical waves, and then they really try to strengthen. We could get some more activity there. Even that goes into August, so we'll have to see what if this does what this is showing, but that, look at the Eastern Pacific and Central America looks super dry, super inactive. So it's going to be tropical wave activity that, if anything's going to happen, apparently, according to the CFS. And the Climate Prediction Center kind of shows the same thing. They're showing a 20% chance of something forming between June 26th and July 2nd. But then look at this, July 3rd to July 9th, nothing. Even below average rainfall across the entire tropical region. So really the tropics are going to just shut down after the next couple weeks. So early July is probably going to be very inactive in terms of tropical activity. A look at the Saharan dust. You have a lot of Saharan dust over the main development region right now, and that's pretty much shutting down any tropical activity that's going to happen there. But it's thinner in the Caribbean and the Western Atlantic, where there is some activity. This could change over time, where the main development region starts to try to do something in a few weeks. But really this and this doesn't look good. It just looks like it doesn't look good for tropical activity. It looks good as, there's not going to be any hurricanes, but looks unfavorable. Very unfavorable. Apparently it's favorable where this kind of invest would be, but then over here, generally favorable, but then you have some areas where it's unfavorable, and then it's looking unfavorable in the Gulf of Mexico, and across the rest of the Atlantic it's unfavorable. So that's interesting. So yeah, it looks like we might get some activity, but then it's going to shut down. But we're at the beginning of the season. It's like things really don't heat up until we get to August, and then things really ramp up, August, September, October are the main months of the hurricane season. So we're still at the beginning. So and it looks like this graph kind of shows that it goes down once you go into July. Things kind of, you get an early season peak, and then it kind of goes down before it really ramps up in August and September and October. Thanks for watching this video. Please be sure to hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more tropical weather updates. Extreme Weather Zone, out.